Hey, welcome to Reddit Reveals. Get comfortable and give this story a chance. And when it's over, tell me in the comments what you would have done differently. I walked past her with the ring box still open on the table. She didn't even notice at first. She was laughing, tilting her head, playing with her straw like some high school girl at her first date. This guy had his arm behind her chair like he owned the place. He was leaning in close, whispering something. She threw her head back and laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. I slowed my walk just enough for her to see me when I passed the corner booth. She looked up, and just like that, the smile died. Her eyes dropped to the box on the table, wide open, diamond ring still inside. Then she looked back at me. I didn't stop. Quick note, before we go on, where are you watching from right now? Now, let's rewind 3 days. I'd booked the spot 2 weeks earlier. A rooftop place downtown in Omaha. Nothing fancy, but nice enough for the moment. She loved string lights, live jazz, dumb little desserts. I had it all lined up. Had it. Even called ahead to have them bring the ring with the final course. I'd been planning this for months. That same morning, she told me she had lunch plans with Chelsea. That was her go-to name when she wanted to shut me down quick. So I didn't push it. But then around noon, my buddy Vince called. Hey man, weird question. Is Shelby single again? What? No. Why? I swear I just saw her at Blue Orchid with some guy. Pretty cozy, not gonna lie. I hung up, drove straight there. Didn't text, didn't call. Just walked into the restaurant, heart beating like a war drum. And there she was, sitting across from a guy I'd never seen before, laughing like she was 16, twirling her hair, leaning forward like he was the only man on earth. I didn't interrupt. I didn't yell or flip the table like some idiot. I pulled the ring box out of my coat, walked to an empty table 2 booths behind them, set it down, made sure the lid was open, diamond up. Then I walked right past her, right past them. That's when she saw me. That's when her world cracked open, and I swear, the look on her face, I'll never forget it. I didn't go home after I left the ring on that table. I drove around for hours, past the high school we both went to, past her dad's old auto shop, even past the neighborhood where we'd once talked about buying a house. None of it felt real anymore. I parked in a Walmart lot around midnight and just sat there, staring at my hands like they belonged to someone else. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt blank, like whatever part of me loved her had already died. I turned my phone off that night. I didn't want to hear the excuses, didn't want the calls. I already knew what she'd say. It wasn't what it looked like. He's just a friend. Let me explain. I could script it line for line. By morning, I had 12 missed calls and 9 texts. Please, Caleb, just let me talk to you. Where did you go? Can we please just talk? You don't understand what's going on. Yeah, I understood enough. I waited 2 days before going back to the house. I knew she'd be there. She'd been staying at my place most nights lately. And sure enough, her car was in the driveway like nothing ever happened. She ran to the door when she saw me pull in. No makeup, hoodie on, hair a mess. She looked like she'd been crying for 2 days straight. Good. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. Don't, I said. Just tell me who he is. She blinked like I slapped her. Who? Booth 14, Blue Orchid, Thursday afternoon. Don't play dumb. She took a step back, looking like she was trying to figure out whether to lie or beg. He's just a friend, she said finally. It was lunch. Lunch where you let him put his hand on your back for 10 minutes. She froze. That told me everything I needed. Then she said the one thing that almost made me lose it. I didn't mean to hurt you. I laughed. I couldn't help it. That weak little line, that's all she had. You didn't mean to get caught, I said. There's a difference. Then I walked past her, grabbed the duffel bag I packed 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I had a gut feeling something was off, and headed back to the truck. She followed me out, crying now, voice cracking. Please, Caleb, don't do this. Can we talk? Please. I slammed the door shut without saying another word. Then I pulled out of the driveway while she stood there, barefoot on the porch. And I swear, I didn't look back once. I spent that first night at Vince's place. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer, tossed me a blanket, and let me crash on the couch. We didn't talk until the next morning, when I woke up with my back stiff and my throat dry from too much silence. You gonna tell me what on earth happened? He finally asked while pouring himself coffee. I told him everything, from the ring on the rooftop to the hand on her back at Blue Orchid. He just kept shaking his head, muttering, "Man," every few minutes. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. Dude, I think her friend Alyssa knew. She's been acting weird around me for weeks. Alyssa was Rachel's best friend. They talked every day. If something was going on, there's no way she didn't know. And Vince had been hooking up with her for a while. Nothing serious, but enough for pillow talk. You think she knew Rachel was cheating? I asked. I'd bet money on it. She made some offhand comment last week, like, some people deserve to be happy, even if it's messy. I thought she was talking about a show, but now I'm not so sure. That hit hard. Because now it wasn't just Rachel lying. It was her whole little circle covering for her. Suddenly, every girls' night, every just me and Alyssa movie evening felt like a setup. A way to make sure I stayed in the dark while she played pretend with someone else. I pulled out my phone. Still off. I turned it on and watched the notifications pour in like a flood. Missed calls, voicemails, long texts, all from Rachel. I didn't open any of them. Instead, I called Alyssa. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, Caleb. She sounded nervous. She knew. Don't lie to me. How long have you known? There was a pause, then a sigh. I didn't want to get involved. It wasn't my place. I almost laughed. You watched me plan a proposal while your best friend was messing around with someone else. And it wasn't your place? She said it was over. She told me she was going to end it. Yeah. After lunch, dates, and hotel rooms. Spare me. I hung up. I didn't want to hear any more fake sympathy. I walked outside, stood on the porch with the cold January wind cutting through my shirt, and made a decision. If Rachel wanted to live like none of this mattered, fine. But I wasn't going to let her keep pretending to be the victim. It was time her parents knew who their daughter really was. The drive to her parents' house felt longer than it should have been. They only lived about 20 minutes from Vince's place, but I hit every red light, and my hands wouldn't stop gripping the wheel like I was about to crash. I wasn't even sure what I was going to say, or why I needed to say it at all. Maybe I just wanted someone to know I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't imagined it, that I really was planning to spend the rest of my life with their daughter, and she blew it all up for a man who said the right things over lunch. I pulled into the driveway around 2 p.m. Her dad's truck was parked out front, and I saw her mom's gardening gloves on the porch swing. I'd been here 100 times before. Holidays, barbecues, even just random Sunday visits. But this was the first time I didn't want to walk up the steps. Still, I knocked. Her dad answered. Gary. Straightforward guy. Retired fire chief. Wore the same belt for 20 years and called me son. After the first 6 months Rachel and I were together, he looked surprised to see me. Hey, Caleb. Everything all right? I didn't waste time. Can we talk? He stepped aside. Of course. We sat at the kitchen table, same one we'd carved pumpkins on last fall. Same one Rachel spilled wine on during her mom's birthday dinner. I stared at the wood grain for a second, then looked him in the eye. I was going to propose to your daughter last week. He smiled a little, almost proud. I figured. She had a feeling, too. Been talking about it for months? I nodded once. Yeah, I had the ring, took her to that rooftop place she liked, but she never showed up. His smile faded. She told me she had plans with a friend. Lunch? I leaned forward. She was with another man, Gary, at Blue Orchid, laughing, letting him touch her. I left the ring on a table and walked out. He didn't speak for a long time. Just sat there, processing. Finally, he ran a hand down his face and muttered, "Good grief." "There's more," I said. "I saw the messages. She's been cheating for a while. I'm not even mad anymore. I just thought you should know who she's become." He looked gutted, like I'd told him someone died. Then he stood up, grabbed his keys, and said one sentence. "Get in the truck." No hesitation, no questions. I followed him out without a word. Gary didn't say a word the whole ride, just white-knuckled the steering wheel of his old Chevy and stared straight ahead like the road had personally offended him. I sat in the passenger seat, wondering if I'd crossed a line. I mean, it's one thing to expose your cheating girlfriend, fiancé almost, to her dad. It's another thing to climb into his truck and let him do who knows what with that information. But I wasn't stopping him. Not after what she'd done, and definitely not after how hard he took it. He loved her. I know that. But Gary also came from a time when loyalty still meant something. We pulled into her apartment complex and he parked, like he had every right to be there. No hesitation, no deep breath. Just got out and walked straight to her door. I followed him up the stairs. My heart was pounding harder than it had on the day I planned to propose. He didn't knock. He opened the door with a spare key they gave him last year when she first moved in. I barely had time to register what was happening before we stepped into her living room and found her curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, watching some rom-com on Netflix like she hadn't blown up 2 lives in one afternoon. She looked up and went pale. "Dad?" Gary didn't yell. He didn't slam anything. He just walked in, turned off the TV with the remote, and stood in front of her like a statue. "I need to ask you something," he said, his voice low and steady. "And I want you to answer me without lying. Because if you lie to me right now, Rachel, I swear you won't hear from me again." She looked at me, then back at him. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "Okay. Were you cheating on Caleb?" Silence. Long enough to be an answer on its own, but then she nodded, just once. Gary didn't even blink. "You threw away a good man for what? Some stranger? Some fling? He was going to marry you." Her lip quivered. "I didn't mean to..." "Save it." He turned, looked at me, and said, "Let's go." But I didn't move. Not yet. I looked at her one more time, and all I saw was someone I used to know. Not the girl I fell in love with. Not the one I imagined starting a family with. I finally said, "You lied to me every day for months. You could have just ended it. But you wanted both." She didn't respond. Just sat there, small and quiet under that blanket. I walked out. Gary followed. He didn't look back either. 3 days passed after that showdown at her apartment. I didn't hear from Rachel, not directly. A few missed calls, sure, but no texts. She knew there was no talking her way out of it. And her dad? He called me that night to say, "You didn't deserve any of this, son." And that was it. Haven't heard from him since. By the time Monday rolled around, I just wanted to get back to something normal. I'd taken a few days off after everything, but now I was back in the garage, under a 2009 Dodge Caravan, covered in grease and trying not to think. My head was finally starting to clear. Then he walked in. Connor. Yeah, the guy she cheated with. I recognized him immediately, even without the suit. He came in wearing a backwards hat, jeans too clean for real work, and that same cocky little smirk he had at the restaurant. Except this time, it was aimed right at me. I slid out from under the van and stood up slowly. "You lost?" I asked, wiping my hands on a rag. He glanced around the shop like he was bored. "Nah, just figured it was time we talked." I laughed once, sharp. "You've got some nerve," he shrugged. "Look, man, I didn't know she was still with you. She told me you were done, said you were controlling, that she was scared to leave." That hit me like a gut punch, but I kept my face still. "You really believe that?" "I don't know what to believe," he said, stepping a little closer. "But I figured if I came down here, face to face, maybe you could stop acting like I'm the villain." I dropped the rag. "You want to clear your conscience? Do it somewhere else. You don't get to sleep with my girlfriend and then walk into my workplace like we're going to shake hands." He started to say something, but I cut him off. "Here's what you need to understand, Connor. You're not the first guy who's fallen for a girl who lies well. And you won't be the last. But don't confuse her performance with truth. She was never scared of me. She was scared of getting caught." That wiped the smirk off his face. I pointed to the door. "Get out, before I stop being calm." He hesitated for a second, then turned and walked out. I didn't go back to the van right away. Just stood there for a long minute, hands shaking, heart pounding. Because no matter what he said, the worst part wasn't him showing up. It was realizing he believed her version of me. I thought that would be the end of it. After her dad confronted her, after I shut the door on Connor, I figured maybe, just maybe, she'd disappear quietly and leave me alone. But no, that's not how people like Rachel operate. When they lose control, they rewrite the whole story. It started small. Mutual friends started acting weird. One guy from our circle, Tyler, suddenly stopped answering my texts. Then Jenny, Rachel's old roommate, who I used to be cool with, posted something on Facebook about how some men can't handle strong women. No names. But the timing was too perfect. I knew something was off, but I didn't realize just how deep she'd gone until Alyssa showed up at Vince's shop. She didn't come in yelling. She walked in with her arms crossed and that smug little tilt to her head, like she'd been dying to say something. "You really think you're some kind of victim, Caleb?" she said, right in front of everyone. Vince looked up from the counter. "What on earth is this?" I didn't even flinch. I just stared her down. "You got something to say, Alyssa. Say it." She stepped closer. "Rachel told me everything. Said you were controlling, that you went through her messages, that you stalked her at a restaurant and tried to humiliate her in front of a stranger. You really think that's normal behavior?" It actually made me laugh, loud, bitter, tired. "She said that?" "That I was the one who ambushed her?" I asked. Alyssa didn't blink. "That's what she said. And frankly, it lines up. You always had a jealous streak." Now that ticked me off. So I stepped around the counter, got right in front of her and said, "You covered for her. You knew about the affair. You let me walk around like a fool while your best friend two-timed me for months. Don't pretend like you're some innocent bystander." She folded her arms tighter, but didn't say a word. That ring I left on the table, that was her last shot. I gave her every chance to come clean. She spit in my face. Alyssa turned to walk out, but before she did, she left one final shot over her shoulder. "Just remember, not everyone's buying your version of the story." I stood there for a long minute after she left, listening to the silence in the shop. Vince finally muttered, "That girl's poison." Yeah, no kidding. And now I knew Rachel wasn't done. She was still playing games. But I had one more move left. I didn't go online for a while after Alyssa's stunt at the shop. I didn't want to see what people were saying, but curiosity eats at you. So, one night, about a week later, I gave in. I opened Facebook, then Instagram, And yep, there it was, the full PR campaign. Rachel had posted some long dramatic caption about growth, surviving manipulation, and letting go of toxic love. She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. The likes, the comments, the support, it was all people who knew perfectly well who she was talking about. And it made me sick. Not because people believed her, but because I'd let it happen. I gave her silence, and she turned it into a platform. That's when I knew. I couldn't just walk away. Not yet. Not until the truth came out. So I made one post. I kept it clean. No yelling, no slander. Just screenshots of the texts between her and Connor, of her messages saying, "Don't worry, I'll tell him soon," and he still thinks I'm loyal, poor guy. I even dropped the time-stamped photo of her on the balcony at his place, laughing, wine glass in hand. And I ended it with one sentence. Believe whatever you want. This is what really happened. I didn't tag anyone, didn't name names. I didn't have to. It spread fast. People started connecting the dots. Mutual friends reached out. Some apologized. Others said they had a feeling. Her dad messaged me 2 hours later with just 2 words. Good man. But the best part? Connor dumped her. 2 days after the post, I heard through the grapevine that he found out she was still texting a third guy the whole time. Some bartender she used to work with. Turns out Rachel wasn't done playing games. She just got sloppy. Her little empire of lies collapsed in under a week. She deleted her socials, moved out of her apartment. And from what I hear, she's back living with her mom in some tiny rental across town. No job, no ring, no reputation. Me? I'm better than I've been in years. I took a solo trip to Utah, hiked in silence, cleared my head. I'm seeing someone now. Nothing serious yet, but it's honest, real. And best of all, I don't walk around second-guessing everything I say, wondering if I'm being watched, judged, or replaced. Because now I know what betrayal looks like. And more importantly, I know what freedom feels like. She thought she could enjoy another man's attention while keeping me as backup. But the moment she saw me walk away, leaving that ring on the table, that was the moment she lost everything. Thanks for sticking through the whole story. What would you have done differently if you were in my shoes? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one.